Rickety Rickety Wild Wild West. Do you remember that? Bit of Will
That
Smith.
was a shit film, that.
Oh, it wasn't his best, was it? Mind you,
No.
I used to love the album Big Willie Style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Being a man
That's
with a
enough
big
about
willie,
me.
I thought it fit. You know, meh, meh. Today, see what I did? Because
Yeah.
today's all about perception, Mark, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. Mm. I've got
Perceptions.
I've got little man syndrome.
You just need to stand at certain angles in a certain light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all it is. It's all about the lighting. It's all about the lighting that you get yourself. Take that light that you use for your webcam, you know, the ring light, and just put it in front of your knob. So there you go, pet. It's well
That's
lit.
it.
Although lit means something else these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So perceptions and biases, right? How we perceive people from names and roles and histories and backgrounds and all of that gubbins, tying nicely into some of the stuff you've been presenting, or you're about to present, right? In your training.
Yeah, I did this one a couple of weeks ago in terms of perception bias, and mainly based on subconscious bias that we don't realize we have until you sort of point it out to people. And it was more sort of geared at while we're interviewing, we have to be careful of certain biases. Especially, you know, the panel that are interviewing, if you get certain people across your desk, you have to be really aware that you've got some subconscious biases built into you. And
Right, the name was a perfect example of that when you were
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about Tristan.
and yeah. So I've got about 20 examples. I won't go through them all because it's a 20-minute episode. But yeah, we're talking about name biases. So you go for an interview and your name is Tristan or Tom or Steve, as we said, and straight
Brian.
away, Tristan is. We've got a certain perception in our mind about, you know, educated, university background, probably from Bath. You know, he's probably
From
from
Bath.
Bath.
And he
Yeah,
wears yacht shoes.
yacht shoes, yes,
Yacht
and
shoes
he,
and shorts. Sorry, khakis.
yeah,
He wears
and he
khaki
and he go
shorts.
and he goes out with a girl called Trudy just to fit in. You know,
or Jacinta. Or
yeah,
Jacinta,
Jacinta. Yeah.
or
So,
Rosemary
oh, don't be careful.
Anus Biscuit. Something like
No,
that. It'd be triple barreled.
you've just gone down a track there. What's my mum called?
Rosemary.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but it's not Anus Biscuit though, is it?
definitely not. I think she'd probably take.
What I'm
gender
saying
issues.
is your mum's name was posh.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Proper posh.
She's got called Rose most of our life, and yeah, probably
You don't
only.
hear that these days, do you?
Nah. Yeah.
My auntie
Interesting
was
though.
called Madge. Auntie
Madge.
Madge.
Yeah.
Aye.
The only thing I think of when I hear the word Madge is Benidorm, the program Benidorm, the woman with on the scooter.
I mean, parents used to watch that. I was.
But speaking of my mother, so if my mother was interviewing and she had a beauty bias, I'd get employed every time, wouldn't I? Because my mum has a beauty bias when she sees me.
Well, you know. That's mothers for you, isn't it?
But you can imagine, you know, we've probably been guilty of that down the past. We're interviewing a couple of ladies, and one of them's if you were to give ladies a mark out of 10, you get the ultimate. You know what the ultimate number is, don't you? It's a 1.
A one? Oh,
Yeah,
you- Go on, say it.
you'd
Say
give her
it.
1.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got it in the end, didn't you? It was one of them old
Yeah,
jokes from
because
the-
my brain kind of sort of knocked on the door and went, he's doing one of them. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Aye.
Yeah. So
He's doing one of them.
you could imagine you got 2 ladies through the door, and one of them's a absolute stunner. So automatically you got this built-in bias because she was a stunner, versus the other one that was you know a nice lady, but not the
Hard paper round.
yeah she did supplements on a Sunday. So yeah, so we've got beauty bias. We've got the halo effect, which is we talk about universities here. So this one went to Slough, or this one went to Cambridge. I flicked it up a bit there. I just flipped it over. You weren't
Instead of
bothered about
Oxford.
Oxford. Yeah, Oxford. So this one. So we went to Slough, or we went to Cambridge. Immediately, we've got this perception of somebody that went to Cambridge, who did, who 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 did who's applying for a job as a bricklayer and did a microscience degree. So
Or political science.
yeah, political science. So yeah. We've just given them a job because they went to Cambridge. Doesn't fit the job.
To be fair, if I saw Oxford or something like that on the CV, I'd be like, no, bit posh.
Yeah.
You'll find some privilege somewhere. Although, to be fair to them, they're taking a percentage of non-privileged backgrounds, or whatever the hell they call it these days, into those universities.
Yeah.
As graduate schemes and whatever.
Yeah. It's when you say
Scholarships and that.
percentage, because then that's into confirmation bias, which we're into the sort of numbers thing, and you're looking for the one person in 100 that's going to confirm your bias, and you're saying they're right. And I pulled in the numbers from it was a subject from a while ago, from the concrete issue when the kids went back to school, and how the press dealt with it. So there was 147 schools out of 33,500, which equals 0.43% of the schools were affected. 19 of them had an effect to the start of term, which was 0.05%.
19, is that all it was?
Yeah,
They didn't mention that on the news
0.05%.
side. Jesus.
But the level in reporting we got on that issue, which was 0.05%, was created this confirmation bias in us, which said it was a huge issue, but it absolutely wasn't. So we were led down a path by the press to create a perception bias on something that was actually a nil issue.
The weird thing is, most of them rounded it up to 1%.
Yeah,
It's 1% of schools. But it was only the ones that were arguing against it. It's 1% though. In fact, it's not. You're right. It's less than.
Yeah,
It's not even 0.5%.
it was just crackingly bad.
But it was mental. It was an entire week.
Yeah,
And the weekend of and they've just found another one.
yeah.
They've just found another school. Kids have been sent home. I'm like, well, is that 20 now?
Yeah, because it was just topical. It was right at the time when the kids were going
It
back
was
to
government
school.
failure, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Government
yeah.
failure.
Yeah,
Oh, another failure.
I know, and I just it just boils me. Affinity biased. So I interviewed for a company just over 2 years ago. I interviewed a guy called Sam, and this was for a company in London. And Sam went to university in Newcastle, was on day release at Nissan, but he was from Blackburn. And I worked 7 years in Blackburn. I had this affinity with him. And guess what? He got the job.
So straight away, your rapport is there.
So when he's
Been there. Seen this.
yeah, and he talked about places he went in Newcastle, and then he talked about places that he lived near Blackburn, and but I talk about that example. I mean, he's a good kid. He's a senior project manager for the company now, so it worked out. But I did have an affinity bias to him, and I needed to be aware of that. That I was, before he'd even spoke a word, I liked him because of where he was from and his association to a place that I used to work.
Could you say that you liked him also because it made your decision simpler? Because you went, well, I can trust him straight off the bat. Now the interview's easy. Now I don't have to go into loads of deep questions to figure it out. I've got an idea of who you might be already. So that makes the decision simpler.
That's another built-in bias, though, isn't it? So I had a built-in bias about know people and work level and how they're going to do his work. I had a built-in bias to that.
And wanting the interview process over and done with. So you're like, him, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And, some might say that, gut reaction is good, within the first 15 seconds you probably know anyway. And that was right. But I just have to be aware that because somebody is from where I was born and somebody is from where I worked for 7 years, I'm immediately biased compared to somebody else that is from the south and maybe did not not had that sort of association. If it was between two people, Sam would have got it every time.
It's a bit of a working class bias there as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you assumed that he was, given where he'd been and his background and whatnot.
yeah.
So
Yeah, this one I quite like. It's called a contrast effect. So talk about. I'm not sure if it's a bias or just sort of how we feel about situations. But I used the example in the session with them, and I said to I think he was called Abdi. One of the things I said, Abdi, you've just had your peer review, and I've just give you a 15% peer rise. Are you happy? And he went, yeah. I said, Cameron, it's your peer rise review, and I'll just give you a 20% peer rise. Abdi, are you still happy? And he went, no. I said, but you were happy 3 minutes ago. And he's like, I know, but you've just given him 20. No, no, but you were happy 3 minutes ago. And it's that bit about, when we hear other information, we suddenly become miffed off about it, even though we were happy. Um, so something about somebody else now makes us sad.
even though in his head, 15%, it's a good number. That
Cracking,
it's a good number. Oh,
cracking.
but I could add 20
Yeah.
because he's had 20.
And
He was on less than you to begin with.
yeah,
What
and
about that?
somebody else got 25 this year because there's always somebody better than us
Well,
out there.
you could have went round the table, couldn't you, and started
Yeah,
one on 10, him
yeah,
on 15. Now are you and gone all the way up to 25? Like you're chuffed. Now all 4 or 5 of you are completely cheesed off.
yeah,
That's right. You shouldn't be basing your happiness on someone else's results, right? Or
yeah,
the numbers from someone else. Like you said, you were happy. Now you were happy with 15. You felt you'd
yeah.
achieved something there,
I mean,
and now all of a sudden you've achieved nothing.
we'll get into that subject one day about how I don't like discussing that subject full stop because it's such an emotive subject about money and peer rise and
It was
um,
banned where we were, wasn't it?
yeah, I tell
When
that story and they were like, "What do you mean banned?" And I was like, "Well, you weren't allowed to just you weren't." I
yeah,
said you could
disciplinary,
discuss it, but you couldn't bring it to the table.
and you weren't allowed to mention the number.
No,
Couldn't mention the number
no.
because it
But
does. It creates all sorts of issues, doesn't it?
this one's called status quo, but it's recruiting the same type of people for particular jobs year after year, and that's an inbuilt bias to you that you're just looking for the same caliber, same questions every year. You're not reinventing yourself, therefore you get the same dross coming in through your organisation rather than increasing the level. So you got people like I don't know the guy from Virgin where he says I only want to employ people that are really going to challenge me. Um, a lot of organisations play it safe, don't they? Where they're employing people that they can subordinate, and that's the wrong word, but they can sort of mould them into what they want them to be, rather than what's the best for the organisation. Um,
True, true. They don't want anyone that's likely to step over them.
yeah, yeah, um,
They prefer
uh,
a more submissive sort of personality.
yeah, yeah. I like this one. Overconfidence biased. So, if 93% of Americans believe they're better than average drivers, what is wrong?
Yeah, I'm sure the stats don't.
Well, if
I'm sure
90
if you looked at the insurance statistics, it's
exactly.
not
So
93%.
if you take a room and you say how many of you are an above average driver, and most of the room's hands go up, then obviously there's something statistically wrong because you can't all be above average drivers because an average is an average. But we all believe we're above average drivers, but actually in reality we're not. And it's an overconfidence biased. Like I am a really good driver. Well, why have you got 9 points, Mark, and had 3 accidents in the last 2 years? Maybe you're not. So, but it's that overconfidence biased that we believe we're good at something. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a great interviewer. Well, no, you're not really, because you ask the same crappy questions year after year.
it's it's down to the kind of ego that's been instilled in you, right? Which, and I know this comes up quite a bit. There's a lot of confidence over that side of the pond
Yeah,
compared to
yeah,
here, where we're very reserved about it, I suppose, so that it does stick out. But you're right. An average should be perhaps somewhere
Yeah.
down the middle, or the mean value.
I like this one. I'll say this is the last one. Recency biased. So we interviewed 10 people a day. Which one is more likely to stay in our mind?
Last one.
Correct. So it's a recency biased. That we've got the end of 10 candidates. We really want to relax. It's the end of a tough day, and we're fixated on the last person, aren't we? Even though the first one was actually probably really good.
That's why it's quite often good to make sure that your interview is the last thing on a Friday. They're going to think about you over the weekend.
Yeah. Which interview time and date would you like? Well, I'd like 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, thanks. Yeah.
Definitely not a Monday.
Definitely not a Monday morning first thing. Oh no, no. But it's fascinating how, without actually going over the subject, that we don't realise we've got these built-in biases. We won't necessarily have them all, but we'll have some of them, won't we? Because we've been groomed.
Well, you could put some of them down to preferences related to comfort.
Yeah.
As well. So you can be biased because you're not comfortable. Like for me, if I couldn't employ someone with an enormous ego, it'd do me nothing. Even if they were absolutely brilliant at it and had every right to be that confident about it. But someone who's just very outgoing, extroverted, loud, I'd be like, can you shut up? Nah. All full of bubbles and that. No, I need someone who's tempered. Somewhere in the middle. I mean, I couldn't go the other way either, mine. But somewhere tempered in the middle, it just wouldn't suit me. I'm too much of an introvert to tolerate that level of energy, so...
We couldn't interview for sales.
In and shaking my hand, you're right. Listen, oh, right, you're out.
Yeah, we wouldn't be interviewing for sales jobs, would we? Because we just don't have an affinity with those people.
Oh, no.
No?
No, probably the team I got on worst with
I know.
in the past is either sales or revenue teams and whatnot. It's because they're essentially salespeople, right? So even when you work in a sales department or a revenue department or that sort of... You're a salesperson because you're looking at ways of squeezing more money out of each thing and getting people to buy stuff and thinking about sales strategies and targets and KPIs and, or let's alter this price and, or let's move this so this looks cheaper, and it's all about that sort of getting people to spend stuff. Whether it's...
But bizarrely, those two categories tend to take the top jobs in organisations, don't they? It is. It's just a fact of life. Not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the personality side of it, the selling, the financials. Those are the ones that take the top jobs in organisations.
Not bothered about the risk.
No.
In some
Risk and
respects, you
reward.
could say
Yeah, risk
it's
and
not
reward.
just that loudness. It's that they're willing to just charge ahead, regardless of the risk, and take the hits. Whereas a calculated person like me, I'm like, that's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't want any. I don't want any of that. No way.
We'd work better with Betty from HR, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I'm better off left in a corner,
Yeah.
in front, with a window seat,
Yeah.
and just left to fix stuff. This is bust. Giz it, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Although I will say I enjoyed my time. I enjoyed my time in management, looking after other people and fixing things for them and making sure, they weren't battered by some of the rubbish I used to get falling down from on high. I tried to make sure it didn't fall any further. Although sometimes you had some loud voices up in the C-suite. Right. That's the C-suite for more than one reason.
What is the term for the people who don't know? What does the C-suite mean?
I just presume it's
CEO, CFO, CCO.
Exactly. They're the chief of something, yeah.
Yeah. The big knobs of the organisation. The C-suite.
Yeah. The C-suite, but it can also mean, the C word, as it were.
Yeah. See you next Tuesday. They only work and they only work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
Aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Funny enough, that's quite true. They disappear a lot. Aye, do a lot of travelling. They're willing to do that as well. Oh, I've got 9 flights this week. I'm like, stuff that for a laugh. I've got to go to these 3 different locations, and I've got to go to the other remote locations out there. So yeah, I've got about 9 flights or something. Nah.
Yeah.
No.
Not for
I used
me.
to get bugged when I had to go between 2 offices. Although although Pandora made that a bit more painless when I used to drive my own car up to Copenhagen, across the ferry and that. I used to try and make a trip of it.
Yeah.
And have me takeaways, and it was nice to charge burgers to the company, in the hotel and that, and the Scandic in Glostrup.
Yeah.
Never went on any sightseeing. I was like, no, taking my car meant I could drive back whenever I wanted. So which meant I could have gone and visited some stuff, and nah. No, it made us feel a bit important, knowing that they wanted me up in head office.
That's it.
Every so often. So that's the way I saw it, but I'm not a... No, I think personality types matter. Personality types you might... I mean, would you hire your opposite colour? Because you're a sort of a yellowy green, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yellows and thereabouts.
Uh,
Because my opposite... I'm sort of your opposite on the blue side, right?
Yeah, early on I would say no, but now I would say yes because now I understand the color system.
And you understand my side of things more than
Yeah.
perhaps you ever did, right?
I
Same as Carsten.
Yeah, we
He was a
understand how.
red.
I didn't then, but I understand, and I learned it through you. But I know how to relate to those people now, and they know how to relate to me.
Carsten the same. He's a red of reds, right?
Yeah.
And I would never have got on with that sort of person, never.
Yeah.
But I learned something from him about those sorts of personality types as well, not just the other way around. So it was a very respectful wheel of colour, wasn't it? Lovely wheel.
Yeah.
All the rainbows and that. So
Yeah.
next one, we're getting a little bit more into perceptions. And we debated doing a bit of Russell Brand, but I think the most important point in all this was media coverage, media perception, social media especially, and all of that. So we're going to try and slap all that together into a neat bundle about... We're going to rib on the news a bit, aren't we, basically? And talk about how all that works and perhaps the way it could work better. Anyway. So, I'm not sure which one I'm going to post them. We'll see when we finish. But until the next one, likes and subscribes and comments and some challenges and whatnot. But next time, take care.